So, up in the northern part, we have ProtoKam in the blue, and then Mini over in the more so west side in the yellow. So, as I said, this is all going to be all vanilla all the time. For ProtoKam, we do see the Squizzard. We're actually 4 tier 1s, basically just about the entirety of the tier 1 units being used. Squirrel, lizard, pigeon, mole, and then we also have the badger and also the ferret. Meanwhile, R22, which I know Mini here. Oh god, I already don't know what's going on. But yeah, Mini is gonna be going for the Squod and the Falcon, skunk, boar, and artillery. As you see, like both of them are kind of doing the gentleman's 8. That's what I like to call it, the gentleman's 8, where both of them are just gonna go ahead and chill, get their first 8 farms before actually putting the units down. But once everything is all settled and good, that's when the juicy stuff comes in. Like I said, I don't really know either of these guys' playstyle. I think I've seen like maybe 1 or 2 matches that had ProtoKam, while Mini I can't remember if I've seen. So I don't really know how either of their playstyles are going to go. So it's going to be interesting how this goes down. Here, ProtoKam actually being very greedy here, going with 3 tier 1s, 2 lizards, 1 squirrel. Probably going to be very aggressive here to start things off. Already getting another mill, so that's pretty nice. While we get the standard 3 squirrels, and the mill is just coming up late for him. So right now for building units, a little bit ahead, but they decided to do the sell. But now both guys are building up straight up tier 1s. ProtoKam with the lizards, and of course we have Mini with going pretty much mass squirrel. So it's going to be a squirrel. Oh, we also got Toad here for Mini as 2. So we're going to have a combination between squirrel and Toad. But we also have ProtoKam with some lizards coming in, and he's going to do a lot of abuse in the early going. Got the moles out. So it's going to be a really big battle here, trying to get some kind of here. And Mini does sell a couple of things, and he may end up losing this mill because he doesn't have his units right on the ready. Yep, he loses 1 Warren, and that's pretty much all that ProtoKam's going to do here. So not a whole lot of value, because I think he lost quite a few lizards from that. I think he lost like maybe what? A Warren's worth of lizards. So that's like 60 food to 60 food. So it's a pretty decent trade, taking out a Warren and while losing a few lizards. Not too shabby, but I don't think it really affects Mini that much. So we see we're now he's gonna fully go into the Squod, while Squizzard is going to be more of the use. I will say I probably would give a bit more of the advantage to Mini here with the Squod, because you can easily use the Toads to kind of delete a good percent of these lizards, even though that obviously the squirrel count is a little bit more superior. But I think that with the number of squirrels that ProtoKam has, I don't think it's gonna go well for Mini here. If it was more even between the two, I can definitely give this to Mini, but with the fact that the number game is just way too much for Mini, obviously ProtoKam is going to wipe the floor off for the army in yellow. So now he's going to go ahead and try and get more value by getting rid of some pigs, but Toads are coming in just in time, so the squirrels are not able to get it down. But here comes the lizards, going to quickly get rid of that pig, and that's all she wrote. So we lost quite a bit of tier 1 units on ProtoKam's end, but of course the reinforcements are coming, so he can still probably do some abuse. The Toads are going to have to come in quickly if they can try and stop this abuse, but it's not looking like it's going to be much. But he does retreat just for now, and he will go fully retreat and go back home. So good defense there for Mini. Mini just go ahead and take out some of the few food that Warren had. And now we see that ProtoKam is now going to go fully farm 16. So I'm assuming he's probably going to go ahead and bring up a badger at some point. As he does sell some of the squirrels. Well, selling a couple of warrens and rebuying them just to try to get more value. Because if I recall correctly, the reason why you kind of buy a mill and rebuy is to either kind of help your economy a little bit more or try to help pay for other units that are in need. That's my assumption anyways. But I don't know, it's kind of an interesting kind of strat. But now Midi's starting to build up his tier 2, and we do see a boar coming out. I'm not sure if we got a scout from ProtoKam yet. Actually, make sure that... Oh, wrong button. I forgot which one it was. Switch to the characters. Oops. Whatever. Forgive me. But we're going to see another attack here from ProtoKam. ProtoKam is losing a lot of tier 1 units because of those toads, but the amount of squirrels that ProtoKam has is very overwhelming. This might be a game here. We're still seeing the toads trying to take as much of these squirrels as possible, but he only got a very few left, and that mill barely survives. But the tier 2 are now coming out, and that's going to be the end of that attack. So he does go on home. I'm kind of surprised he doesn't really sell off these moles here, because, you know, you're just wasting food at that point. Even if it is an aggressive stance, you're just going to have your opponent just delete them. Okay, there we go. Now he sells and goes back home. So now ProtoKam is going to be a little bit of a time crunch because he still hasn't gotten a tier 1 unit out. I'm going to assume that he did scout the boar, so he knows it is coming. So he has to do whatever he can to attack at this point. Actually, is it... Or is it space? It is space. I'm stupid. But yeah, just to kind of see... No, he hasn't seen it. Oh, that's not good. That's not good at all. But yeah, ProtoKam once again trying to see if he can get some damage going, but the boar is out now, so it's going to not be a good time for Cam at this point, because that boar is going to just do all the work and just delete his entire army just like that. And that's all she wrote for game number 1. It's gonna go to Cam. Well, mini, I should say. Yeah. So, solid game all around. Oh, this is Tando. God, there's so many. He got so many names on his thing. But yeah, the first game does go to Tando. Really good game from him, as you can tell from the army value. That was certainly a really good one, because that boar coming out, going up against all those tier 1s, it was going to be an easy sweep with the army value. The income, obviously, really was kind of interesting, actually, because ProtoKam, he definitely had a lot more economy going in. Army value, though, it's just the boar. The boar really just came in and just demolished everything. And that's kind of the importance of being able to know when you want to use tier 2, but it also shows how much high risk tier 1 is. I think trying to go for that many tier 1, yes, there are a lot more faster units to build up and they can build up quickly, but I think there's so many higher level tiers that can counter that kind of push pretty easily if they have a decent economy. Because even with the economy lead that ProtoKam had at the time, Tandor she did a really good job of handling things. So, yep, there we go. That's the first one. I feel bad because I'm just like, oops, that's just kind of how it is. Anyways, let's go ahead and go to game 2. Game number 2 between Tandor and ProtoKam. So, game number 2. Oops, wrong thing. Alright, game number 2. Tandor, ProtoKam, game 2. Let's get things going. So, in the eastern, we got ProtoKam, and then western we have Tandor. So for ProtoKam, we do see them go down one tier unit instead of going for the Squall with a dash of Pigeon, while the Falcon and Cam as a tier 2 and the Boar with a tier 1, while Minnie over here, well, Tandor, she's got the Squirrel, she's got the Pigeon, she's got the Falcon, and of course Skunk and Badger and mine. But here, Tandor, being a little cheeky here, deciding to go for a 6 farm with a Warren, Squirrel Warren. That's probably a response to ProtoKam deciding to put in a 5 pig, 1 Warren type of style. And he does resell and buys just so he can have another pig on the way. But he doesn't have to worry about it too much because they're kind of even Steven right now. With Tandor actually being able to get her squirrels out first. Ooh, excuse me. By the way, like, I don't know if anyone's going to be live during this one. I'm going to make sure that I get the pronouns right. If I don't get the pronouns right, I do apologize in advance. Because I honestly forgot that it was Tandor that's Minnie. And it's so hard to kind of keep up with the differing names between games. That's kind of why I changed my name on Steam to the name Jason Blade now, because it wasn't Jason Blade on my Steam at the time. So I was just like, you know what, I think it'd be easier if I'm gonna be on these streams to just turn into my actual like persona's name, my persona's other name for recording various things compared to what I use for kind of like for casual, well, like people who knew me for a very long time. But that's just a tangent here and there. Let's get back into the actual game. So ProtoKam is going up with tier 2s pretty early. Got both Cams and Falcons building at the moment, while Tandor does have the Skunks. So she does sell one of hers and goes for another set, which is going to be, oh, she's going actually mass tier 2, which is interesting. Not really trying to rely on being able to kind of do a one base army. Building up. Actually, did ProtoKam build another one? No, he hasn't. So he's kind of just trying to match what ProtoKam is doing. Of course, we got another attack happening at the moment. So now the Skunks. Tandor's probably going to see if they could oh no, that's not good. Yep, there goes the Cams. Cams are coming in. Takes out a Skunk. But that one Skunk did a really good job trying to keep that army at bay. Really good Skunk use there, especially in that choke. That choke is very dangerous for that squad. And ProtoKam does go home, so he probably has to rethink some of his strategy a little bit here. Maybe possibly get another Falcon. But no, he does end up trying to buy more squirrels because, you know, worst comes to worst, just buy more squirrels. There's nothing wrong with that. Meanwhile, we do have just about the full set of tier 2 ready for Tandor. And Tandor does buy the second base, does have a little bit of a shield here, though it is going to be prone to cliff abuse. I know that, I'm pretty sure he knows that the Cam does have the birds, but he's going to go ahead and get the quick attack here. And he does suppose to the tree, which does expose a Warren. That Warren does go down. And right now, Tandor is just cleaning up everything. But he does lose a majority of his tier 1s. I would hold back here, but it looks like he's just going to only have one Skunk available. Oh, he might lose that. Yes, he does. So basically the entirety of the tier 2 is now done. And that does put Tandor in a little bit of a hold here. We do see, actually, we do see ProtoKam already have a Boar on the way. And yeah, so far, it's kind of even Steven at the moment. Of course, both of them pretty much like lost their units entirely, I believe. Yeah, both of them have just got knocked out, but ProtoKam is a little bit more slower to try to get his army together, especially with the fact that he needs to possibly buy another base because he's only down to 5, while Tandor's already got like about 6 farms pretty much just about ready, depending. But right now we're probably going to see another attack, but the boar is out for ProtoKam, and I'm pretty sure Tandor immediately goes back. Probably try to see if he can utilize the mines here to try to knock down that boar. But of course the pigeons are keeping the boar alive, and it's looking like this is going to be ProtoKam's game. Some really good micro, making sure to keep the boar alive, using the pigeons to keep that boar as alive as long as possible, and we do see ProtoKam getting game number 2. So the score is now 1-1. So, great game from there. Making sure I'm actually gonna type this in the chat for me. Tandor 1 and ProtoKam 1. So Tandor 1, ProtoKam 1. We're all tied up. Really good use from ProtoKam there. Just being able to just keep the boar, essentially. Like that. Like this is the second game in a row where the boar or the tier 3 really kind of was a deciding factor after like some good back and forth between the two. It kind of shows how even both of these guys are, and that's what makes competitively pretty fun, at least for me as someone who is considered to be more of a beginner. Mainly because of the fact that you get to see a interesting comps from both sides, see how they kind of play out, and kind of take what they have and adapt it to your own style. Oh, I pressed replay by accident. My bad. Replays. But great match there. So now we're gonna go for Tandor ProtoKam game number 3. So let's go ahead and get things going. Alright, so ProtoKam in the blue on the south side, while we have Tandor in the yellow, or mini, on the north side. Alright, right now, both... Actually, is ProtoKam doing a cheese here? Where's little gremlin go? Well, maybe not. Yeah, nope. Decides not to go for it. Okay, so we can just go normally. So, for Tandor, we have the squirrel pigeon. That's tier 1. Tier 2 is the falcon and the skunk. Tier 3 is the badger. And then we have a mine. Well, ProtoKam. Oh, well, there it is, the cheese. There's the cheese. As ProtoKam does have the 4 tier 1s with the squirrel and the badger, but of course some good selling there for Tandor as a response to not have to worry about the pesky mole play from ProtoKam. But ProtoKam is a little bit ahead now in economy as he does build up the rest of his farm and does get a mill up, so will be a little bit faster, I believe, because of those cells. I mean, maybe not. They're probably kind of even Steven, but it is what it is. As we do have the first squirrel coming out for Tandor, while ProtoKam does have a bit of more of a forward base going on, well, forward units going. So I'm assuming he's going to be very aggressive coming out, because he does have 2 squirrels going up to 9, but Beanie's a little bit ahead when it comes to squirrel count, as we do see a couple of more tier 1 Warrens on Tandor's side coming up. So really kind of just kind of countering each other, trying to see how much one person has. Because right now, so far, in both of these players' minds, well, I know for Tandor's mind, you're just dealing with a basic squirrel pushes. So the best way to counter a squirrel push is to try to have the same number of squirrels that your opponent does. Because if you do have the same amount of squirrels as your opponent does, you'll probably have more of the advantage to go to the defense team, because of the fact that you are able to get your you'll be able to get your units out a little bit more and into the battle much quicker because you're closer to home base. But of course, now we're seeing Tandor building up the army even more so. We're looking to go for a possible attack, or at least getting ready to try and guard this mill that's coming. Oh, I thought it was coming up. I guess he sold it. But essentially, they're just trying to just feel each other out a little bit. ProtoKam does have quite a lot of tier 1s out right now. Got the squad going. Meanwhile, we do see a mass squirrel with the skunk combination. And you could probably see that the skunk is going to be a lot more valuable here compared to the toads. At least I think so. Because everyone's got to go through the gas. And they have to hold, as long as they stay in the back line to get the damage that they need to. And they do just that, but the skunks are going to go down. So I am wrong on that, but it was just a complete army trait on both ends, because both of them are pretty even Steven. The skunks doing their job to making sure to leave a lot of poison out, while the toads really did a good job as targeting the tier 2s, but by the end, majority of the army on both ends ended up just being fully traded. No real value was lost between either side, so you can get more as even as you can get. Alright, so with that in mind, we're still seeing a mass squirrel skunk combination from Tandor, while ProtoKam is starting to build just even more tier 1. A lot of toads, a lot of squirrels, and we're getting a couple of falcons. And what also makes this a little bit more interesting is the mines. The mine play is definitely going to help out with the toad situation. He's kind of leaving his army out in the open. That's not going to be good. And he doesn't have to call his boys retreat. He does lose a skunk. He loses the second skunk. And that's just about as much as you can get. Really good battle there for ProtoKam for this one, because you basically got to start a fight at the worst time for Tandor, but you do lose quite a bit because of the mine play. But those toads could pretty much take those bullets, and right now ProtoKam is looking to possibly take game 2, as he just goes in and starts taking out all of the Warrens. But he only is able to take one and decides to go home. No, he's still gonna fight, and that's going to be the end for that one. That's going to be ProtoKam getting game number 2 in this feat. So, excellent game there against Tandor. I just gotta say, it was just some good micro play from ProtoKam in that scenario. So ProtoKam will be up 2-1 as we head into game number 4. Let me go ahead and update that. 1, ProtoKam 2. Cool. Alrighty then, let's go ahead and go into game number 4. Tandor ProtoKam game 4. Let's ride. So, on the west side, we have ProtoKam in the blue. While on the east side, we got Tandor in the yellow. When it comes to the decks, Tandor's going with the Squad, while rocking the Skunk, Falcon, Boar, and MG. Well, ProtoKam will go Squeeze. Well, basically the same, essentially the same deck as last time, with the 4 tier 1s, the Falcon, and the Boar. But we seeing another cheesy play here from ProtoKam, and yeah, we're now seeing it coming in late. Quick sell, rebuy, and now he's gonna get the full 8. So great, so good response. And ProtoKam is now gonna go into Lizards, not deciding not to buy any of the, to not buy any more things. So we're not seeing any Gentleman's 8 whatsoever in this matchup, as we see Squirrels coming out. ProtoKam sells the moles, so obviously he knows that's going to be out. But no, he's going to rebuy them. Get the Lizards to come. Lizards are going to be little gremlins. It's trying to make this a little bit of a rush. And honestly, it is my least favorite thing about this game is people rushing. It's not fun. It never is fun. As 1 pig goes down, 2 pigs go down, and that'll be it. He'll take that and goes right on home. So great rush there for ProtoKam. Now he's gonna go ahead and get ready to get some defenses, because he knows they're coming. And pure Lizard versus pure Squirrel, that's gonna go Squirrel all day every day, unless the Lizards have some kind of decent support. And I know ProtoKam sees that, so he's like, yeah, I'm just probably gonna chill out and most likely go home, especially with the MG that's out to protect that home base for Tandor. Adding more Squirrels into the mix, so it is wise for ProtoKam here to decide to just go home and kind of play the game a little normally. But he's dedicated to try and do more abuse. But I don't think it's going to work out. Oh, actually it is the pathway. I didn't even realize there was a pathway here. So now we're going to see more abuse, trying to take out as much as they can before they go down. But he's only going to lose a pig. So you can say that that's probably the best case scenario in that situation for Tandor at that point, because you are pretty much scouting. Your army is not in the right position to defend that, and only having to lose a pig out of that is probably the best case scenario in that showcase. So now ProtoKam decides to sell off all of his Lizards and go full on Squirrel. So I'm thinking the early abuse is now done. While we do see a Boar coming out. Oh, well, never mind. I thought we were going to see a Boar here, but he decided to move the Boar to a different location so that ProtoKam does not see it. Or if he did, probably sold it. But now ProtoKam decides to go ahead and be like, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and build another base. So that way, I'll have options to go ahead and get for tier 2. But that Boar, but he's going to be very quick on his feet with that, because the Boar is going to come out at any moment. It's nearly halfway built, the Warren anyways. So the Warren will be out and about. Meanwhile, yeah, sorry, trying to get more comfortable here. Meanwhile, I would say that Tandor probably has the better army right now. Of course, as I say, there's a battle going on, and right now ProtoKam doing a pretty good job taking out majority of the units, but he's not able to go ahead and go deeper than that. But he does. Tandor does sell the MG. And I know ProtoKam has seen. Well, oops. Definitely saw. I'm pretty sure he saw the war. Yeah, he did. Making sure. And now we're seeing another attack coming from ProtoKam. This time, trying to see if they can get something going. Does take out the MG, but the skunk gas is going to be a little bit too much here. As another MG comes out. So I could imagine that ProtoKam will not be able to break through this. Maybe because the MG doesn't go down, the skunks are happening, and the game 4 will end up going to Tandor. So we are now tied up to a piece. So we will be getting a game 5. Really great back and forth between these two players. Some really excellent play here. I think ProtoKam realizes that he was not going to be able to break through that great defense over there for Tandor. And since he knew that that board was going to come out eventually, that army was just going to be completely annihilated because of the lack of tier 2s, or not even having his own tier 3 out to be able to counter the board that was going to be in that match. So it is going to be to a piece between Tandor and ProtoKam. So we will be seeing... I pressed the wrong button. I'm so silly. We will be seeing a game 5 here once I, go to the right one. More replays. All right. Game number 5. Let's get it. So, in the west side, we got ProtoKam, and then on the east side, we have Tandor. Both are going to be starting off with the gentlemen. I believe we're seeing another... we're still seeing the same deck from ProtoKam as the previous 2 games, really trying to make that work with the 4 tier 1s. And of course, we're seeing more cheekiness from ProtoKam before I even get started to say which is which. God dang it. But right now, here comes the quick sell. Again, lots of cheesiness. And we're seeing the same strategy that ProtoKam's doing once again. Trying to go for a mole rush. Once that's not able to go through, then is going to get into Lizard to go for this attack. And I still haven't even said Tandor's thing yet. But he does put out a mind saying, look, I dare you to try something with me. But ProtoKam does just eventually just go home. I'm sure Tandor will be seeing the lizards. So he will go back and start building up the tier 1 as necessary. He's probably going to sell... Yep, he sells the mine just so he can go ahead. Most likely going to try to use this time to build up, but this is not going to look good as ProtoKam's got his lizards ready. He's just going to go ahead and delete the entirety of the warrens before the squirrels come out. Does take out a pig as well. So some very good value there, being able to take out a warren and a pig. Really trying to affect the economy game, as now with that rebuild, the tempo is going to be more so on ProtoKam's side. Now, even though even though it has been destroyed, he does have 1 mole, but it's not going to matter too much, as right now ProtoKam's just being a complete bully at the moment. Now starting to build up some other tier 1, which is of course the squirrel. This is a very interesting composition, because this is basically like, all right, this is a dedicated rush all the time to really kind of abuse your opponent in the early game. And I guess the best way to kind of counter that is to build up a good percent of tier 1 units yourself if you don't have more, which obviously Tandor is doing here with having 12 or 15 squirrels getting ready to come up. And maybe if you want to be really safe, also go down with some NGs to kind of delete a majority of the tier 1 that's coming out. Because really, you're just trying to find ways to get an opportunity to be able to still kind of keep the same pace while trying to defend yourself at the same time. Because that's probably one of the more difficult things, in my opinion, having to deal with, to try and manage to get some kind of try to think very quickly going up against so many rushes like this, while trying to protect trying to at least continue having the same economy, trying to continue to have a decent build, especially like when you get into tier 2, Because once tier 2 comes in, like if you get a Falcon, like a Falcon can easily go and wipe the floor with tier 1s like this. Which, of course, as I say this, or tier 3 in this case, the board can just come out and start being real Gremlin-like. So, ProtoKam does decide to go ahead and put out a couple of Falcons, but if he wants to get a W, he may have to try and get ready to attack now, more so than anything else. He does have some moles coming out. He does have both Falcons. All his squirrels are here. All his lizards are here. And, of course, we're seeing the lizards taking the brunt of the mines. And now we're seeing another quick battle. And now Tandor is just getting clapped at the moment, losing all of his Warrens. And that will be the game. ProtoKam does end up winning the entire series 3-2.